Now at 11, the Kentucky Attorney General's Office recognizing National Crime Victims Week with an awareness and resource fair to help support victims. And while we're now learning about a possible cause for the wildfire at Natural Bridge State Park as trails get set to reopen.
I'm Chief Meteorologist T.J. Shuck. A nice looking Wednesday out there. We had some sunshine, afternoon highs right around the 70-degree mark. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Some changes on the way and those rain chances increasing Thursday. Your Storm Team forecast is coming up.
You're watching ABC 36 on your side. News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Paxton Boyd. The Kentucky Attorney General's Office of Victims Advocacy is recognizing National Crime Victims' Rights Week with an awareness and resource fair. It included survivors of crime and victim service providers, all committed to supporting victims. ABC 36's Anna Medina has the details in tonight's top story at 11.
I'd give anything if she were here.
Secret Holt is recalling the memory of her daughter, Bailey Holt, a victim in the Marshall County High School shooting back in 2018. Since the irreplaceable loss, she's become a part of a community that engages with other survivors.
Throughout the last 5 years, hearing all of the other survivors' stories and being able to be a part of this committee has just really made a difference in my life, and it's somewhat healing.
During the Elevate Survivor Voices Awareness and Resource Fair, several in attendance also sharing their stories of survival, an event that Secret says has been beneficial.
Coming to these events and being able to help people and be Bailey's voice and spread awareness for gun violence and be an active member in the community.
Another speaker, J.D. Graham, is a survivor of domestic violence. She's also an author and an advocate for victims' rights.
As a survivor of domestic violence and raised in a home with domestic violence, it truly is a beautiful thing to be able to use the hardest times of my life and the darkest times of my life for good.
Both women sharing a message for others.
I feel like this world is so fast-paced that often we do not engage in order to elevate. We truly have to listen and provide space for people's stories in order to do anything with them.
Don't be afraid to be their voice. If you have any concerns in your local school system with any of their surroundings, please don't be afraid to speak up because it could save someone's life.
That was Anna Medina reporting. A resource fair was also taking place today outside of the Capitol Rotunda. Organizers say if you or someone you know is a crime victim and in need of assistance, you can contact the police department or call the Office of Victims Advocacy at 502-696-5312. All right, let's check in with our chief meteorologist, T.G. Shuck, for a look at that weather. Absolutely beautiful Wednesday out there, T.G., but some changes could be on the way.
Yeah, it's been a nice stretch, Paxton. Today, about ideal for this time of the year. In fact, we were right on par as far as our average high. We reached 71 here in Lexington. Good to see that sunshine out there. It's been a very pleasant evening. Max HC radar and satellites and moisture down here to the south, south of the boundary, which kept our winds out of the north-northeast. You see some higher clouds beginning to build in, and that will be the case for the remainder of the overnight and heading into the day tomorrow. We're going to start out dry. Our Bluegrass Pace Care Skyview HD Camera Network, Hicks and Funson Camward 53. Note the northeast wind at about 5 to 10. It will stay up and then eventually shift eastward tomorrow after sunrise. Most locations still into the low and mid 50s, so a whole lot better out there this evening. Not worried about anything in the way of frost. We'll probably drop down into the mid 40s to kick things off tomorrow. Again, tomorrow morning dry. We'll see clouds continuing to increase, and then sometime into late afternoon we'll see the first round of rain and some embedded thunder move in from the southwest, and that's going to be a prelude of things to come. In fact, it looks like the heaviest rain should be during the early morning hours on Friday, tomorrow night into early Friday, and we could see some healthy rainfall totals by the time this thing wraps up later on Friday. I'll tell you about that in your 7-day forecast coming up.
Richmond firefighters responded to a structure collapse this morning near 900 4 Mile Road. Fire crews say a truss collapsed around 10 this morning, sending 4 people to the hospital. Crews on scene say they were described as alert, but there's no word on their current condition. The building is going to be a God's Pantry food bank facility. Well, now to a fire in Richmond at a car dealership this morning. The Madison County Fire Department says crews responded to 3100 Irvin Road this morning just after 8 a.m. to a report of a car that was on fire at a used car lot. There's no word on what may have started that fire. Firefighters tell us there were no reports of any injuries. The Division of Forestry says the wildfire at Natural Bridge State Resort Park that burned 100 acres may have been intentionally set. Investigators say more research will be necessary to confirm the cause. However, Natural Bridge trails will reopen on Friday after the fire closed them for more than a week. The Natural Bridge State Resort Park says the only trails that will remain closed are Balanced Rock Trail and the Hood's Branch Trail for safety concerns. The wildfire started April 17th and grew to more than 125 acres into Daniel Boone National Forest land. 100 firefighters from the Division of Forestry, U.S. Forest Service, and local fire departments assisted. The fire was reported 100% contained on Monday. State and local leaders announcing a resource to help in the recovery process of natural disasters. Beginning May 1st, more than $123 million will be available to communities by the 2021 tornadoes in western Kentucky and flooding in eastern Kentucky. State leaders say the money will help build homes, rental properties, and multifamily rental properties. Federal funding allots 80% of the funding to western Kentucky and the other 20% to those in eastern and southeastern Kentucky.
This is going to be huge to keep bringing us forward and to continue the great economic development years that we've had that we talked about this morning.
Yes.
I think this is just going to make sure that we continue that growth and that Kentucky will be better than it's ever been because of events like this.
Governor Beshear says he plans to announce the application process for the 2022 floods in eastern Kentucky in a couple of weeks. Earlier this year, HUD announced nearly $300 million for recovery efforts. The Louisville Metro Police Department is asking for your help to gather information about the mass shooting at Chickasaw Park nearly 2 weeks ago. They're asking anyone who might have any pictures, videos, or information related to the shooting to come forward, either to the LMPD homicide unit or its anonymous tip line. As we've reported, 6 people were shot at Chickasaw Park on April 15th. 2 of them were killed. LMPD says its homicide unit continues to investigate. 2 men have been arrested and charged with the murder of a missing McCreary County man. Kentucky State Police say Joe Bryan and Broderick Taylor, both of Pine Knot, were arrested. KSP says the remains of 54-year-old Roscoe Garland were found in Whitley County on Tuesday. He was reported missing last October. Investigators say Bryant and Taylor are charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. In election news, Agriculture Commissioner and Kentucky Republican candidate for Governor Ryan Quarles releasing his first television ad for the primaries today.
I grew up on my family farm in rural Kentucky, where we have lived and farmed for more than 200 years. My beliefs are rooted in a strong faith, and they never wavered.
In the ad, Quarles touts a grassroots effort, but also says he has the most cash on hand of any of the Republican candidates, with more than $900,000 in the bank. His ad also claims that he has more than 235 endorsements. In addition to Quarles, former UN Ambassador Kelly Craft, Somerset Mayor Alan Keck, State Auditor Mike Harmon, and AG Daniel Cameron are all hoping to secure the Republican nomination to challenge incumbent Governor Andy Beshear this November. You can find a full list of candidates at WTVQ.com. Well, still to come, Ed Sheeran arrives in court for his copyright infringement case, and on World Immunization Week, an expert shares more specific vaccines to consider depending on your age.
Well, nice evening here in central and eastern Kentucky after a delightful day with sunshine and highs around 70. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We got that rain returning heading into the afternoon hours on Thursday. The Storm Team forecast coming up after this.